Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can watch us on YouTube and Rumble while following us on Facebook, or find us on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for past episodes, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe or follow today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good morning, everybody, wherever you might be on the spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's podcast series, The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. If this is your first time tuning in, please click like, subscribe, comment. Don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. And also don't forget to check out our Patreon, Project Truth. Show links in the description. But today we are going to have fun. This is going to be a great show today. We are all love, man. We are all love. Right? We are all love. How is that? All right. Well, today our guest, he is the forefront of in his life for the first time after surviving a rare genetic disease. He was diagnosed with Muckle, is that how you pronounce it? Muckle-Wells?
Yeah, Muckle-Wells syndrome.
Muckle-Wells syndrome at the age of 36. And by then had undergone over 40 surgeries to sustain his life. Declared female at birth and transitioned to male to better match his authentic, energetic self at age 34. With incredible health experts and a strong will to survive, he was able to take his pain and turn it into love. He adopted a motto, or the motto, that suffering doesn't equal pain, and he now lives as vibrant as possible, aiming to raise the awareness of living authentically by opening your heart to unconditional love of oneself and others. With a doctorate in clinical psychology, he loves teaching, motivating students and the world through his A Little Less Fear podcast. His podcast is devoted to interviewing guests on the topics of personal growth, spirituality, raising your frequency, self-love, and connection. Let's welcome to the show for the first time, Dr. Lino Martinez.
Hey!
Yeah!
So awesome to be here, and so nice to meet you, Reverend Dr. Paul. So awesome to meet you. Thank you so much for having me.
Blessings and humbled to have you with us today.
Thank you so much. Oh man, this is really a great opportunity. I really appreciate you blessing me with your energy and allowing me to share my energy here on your network.
That's what this show's about, man. It's energy. It is
energy. Yeah.
So I'm going to start the first question off as a song.
Great.
What is love?
Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. Right?
Yeah, right. There you go. Oh, yeah. I told you.
Now that song's going to be in my head the rest of the day. See what you've done?
Right? Yep. Oh, man. And everybody's watching.
I know, right? For real. Oh, my goodness.
Everybody's going to be, yep. They're going to be, oh, man. I got to Google that song. I got to put that on my playlist.
Right.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, that's great. So I love it.
I mean, what is love? What is love? We use that word so often. It's in so many songs. It's in poetry, everything. What is it?
What is love? Love is the reason for our existence. Love is the reason that you and I are communicating right here, right now, at this present moment. Love is what we're feeling when we're laughing. Love is the song that you just chose to have an intro to. Love is the reason why I tagged along singing that song. Love is abundant. Love exists whether you know it or not. Love is the reason why we hurt. Love is the reason why we have grief when someone passes away. Love is the reason why we fall in love with someone. Love is the reason why we keep going. Love is the reason why we need to rest sometime. Love is the common denominator between all of nature, all of humanity, all of the elements on the earth, on the planet. Love is divine. It's divine energy. And without love, we wouldn't be here. That
True.
is my quick synopsis on what I can give you on what love
A
is.
very good
And
one.
love just keeps
Yeah.
going and going and going.
It is the glue of the ether of all the energy that we are supposed to be and express.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, not even supposed to be, just the love that we already
Sure.
are. We're
Yeah.
already love, whether people are aware of it or not, whether they're feeling it or not. We all have an inherent light that we're born with. And this is the light of the divine. And this divine light is love.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. I agree. I concur.
So
So
what's love to you?
love to me is it's everything. It's joy. It's being in a moment of energy of this energy of enjoyment rather than, because the opposite is fear. If somebody is afraid of something and you're always living in the state of fear, oh my God, this is going to happen. This is going to, what if, and we're continuously feeling that way, we're moving away from that side of the spectrum. And I feel that if we push that away, push that thought away, we're moving towards the light, the love we are. And it's connection. I feel it's the connection, because
Sure.
and people, I've known a lot of people too that they don't like people. They're like, I hate people. I hate people. Why? Why? It's, you don't love yourself. That means there's something that's within you that you've walked away from, that love of yourself. Because if you loved yourself, you wouldn't have that issue.
I'd like to touch on something, two things that you mentioned right now, fear and loving yourself. And if you didn't love yourself, you wouldn't. Go ahead with the last thing you said. If you didn't love yourself,
If you didn't love yourself, you wouldn't love others.
you wouldn't love others. I love this. And I'm writing this down so I can come back to it. But let's start with the first thing that you mentioned as far as fear. So I'd like to offer a different perspective on fear.
Definitely.
So in this human reality, fear is usually meant to either alert us, flight or fight, raise our cortisol levels for survival. Sometimes it's part of our intuition. It's letting us know whether something is the best for us or for our path. And it also lets us know and gives us this attention on what needs healing within ourselves, maybe patterns, ancestral patterns from other past lives that we've had, or even this current life. But overall, on the topic of love, fear is actually still a derivative of love. Because if we are, and I'm saying if hypothetically we believe this, and I believe this, that we are all divine beings, and every emotion that we experience here on this planet Earth in this three-dimensional reality is to experience love. Out of love and out of divinity, every emotion and every feeling that we have has that common denominator of love, even fear. For fear can actually turn into love. So we actually need fear sometimes to actually realize that it's because of love that fear even exists. And at the very end of fear, I can create love. And if you welcome fear and say, I see you, I understand you, I welcome you, and I welcome you with love, fear. If you can introduce yourself to fear and love, there is nothing to fear at the very end. And of course, we all have fears. We're going to have fears naturally as a human being existing on this planet. But just to offer a different perspective on how fear can actually go from something challenging to something welcoming.
Yeah. So it's embracing, lack of a better word or expression, is embracing the fear and kind of asking the questions. Where are you coming from? Like, where is
Yes,
this fear
exactly.
coming
Yeah,
from?
definitely. Where are you coming from?
Yeah.
And also, if you don't embrace the fear and if you don't acknowledge it, just like all other pains and all the types of sufferings, it will get trapped in the body. And sometimes it creates disease out of harmony, not at ease. And we all yearn for happiness. And what happiness is being in harmony. Being in harmony with yourself, with your cells, with your body, with your blood pumping through your heart, with people, with plants, with trees, harmony. And that's what we all yearn to feel.
Yeah. Haha. Yes. I knew you'd explain it.
Great. And then on the second thing that you had mentioned, as far as if you don't love yourself, you won't love others. Now, for me, that statement is true because that was my journey. I mean, I was loving others. Here was the thing while growing up is that I gave a lot of love to people. However, I wasn't receiving much back. I was a giver, a giver, a giver, but I wasn't a receiver. And I had to give love to myself in order to know that I am equally able and worth and deserving of getting the love that I'm giving. Give and receive.
Yeah.
That is the equal opportunity that we have as humans to connect with one another and to live in that vibration.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
like
yes, definitely. The
yeah,
more
it's like there has to be this ebb and flow. You can't always give
right.
and not expect anything back. Because if you don't expect anything, or not expect, but if you don't receive, you're stopping the ebb and flow, the natural ebb and flow of the universe.
Exactly. Yes. And we're here for the ebb and flow, and that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it, the yin yang. I love it.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. So how can one raise their frequency?
So raising the frequency, I mean, it can come easy for somebody that's already living in their authentic voice. They're being true to themselves, and just continue to be true to yourself. Do things that make you happy. Rest when you need to. Recharge when you need to. Connect with other people. Experience the feelings of joy, love, happiness as much as you can. If you get trapped in unhealthy thoughts or unhealthy patterns, reach for the best feeling thought at that moment, even if the feeling is just hope. A lot of people feel, well, I'm trapped, my life isn't good. And that's where it could be really challenging for people to raise their vibration and the frequency. Well, how can I raise my vibration and the frequency if I'm living in hospitals and there's a death wish and there's no cure to this disease? Well, do you have hope in your life? Well, there's no zero hope ever. Well, maybe in life I wanted to do this, so there is some hope. If you can hold on to hope, and the what's hidden behind hope is faith. Faith is hanging out, waving its hand. Hey, all you have to do is reach a little further within hope, to have faith and trust that you will be able to raise your vibration, meaning being in a happier place. And the more you're able to trust yourself, the more the universe is going to give you that of which you are trusting of.
Yeah. Yeah. Heck yeah. Now let's touch a little bit on how this journey started for you. That's
Okay.
I mean, what is Muckle-Wells syndrome?
So Muckle-Wells syndrome is a mutation in the genetic variant NLRP3, and in the United States, it is this variant, this mutation is statistically 1 in a million, and in Europe, it's in 1 in every 500,000. Reason being is because it's most common in the European descent. Now, the disease is an autoinflammasome disorder, and what in the world does that mean? It means that there's an exaggeration of the inflammatory response system in the human body that has this mutation of the disease. Now, with any type of inflammation, things can, if there's chronic inflammation, things can get worse where they even cause paralysis, which is what happened with me. The disease gets so inflamed, it causes paralysis in different parts of the body. If it can turn into cancer, it can turn into another disease called amyloidosis, which is a misfolding of proteins, which causes hardening of parts of the body, cells, blood cells, nerve endings of hands, just everything completely. And so, since the disease is so rare, I wasn't diagnosed until I was 36, and I'm 40. I'm going to be 45. So it's only been, under 10 years that I was diagnosed.
Wow.
So from the time I was born to 36 years old, the disease created havoc. Now, I went through a spiritual journey, so I'm telling you this story before I became spiritually aligned and realized and had an awakening on why I went through this. But before I had that awakening, I understood that the disease was basically taking my life very slowly. And it paralyzed. The first thing that it did is it paralyzed, it did many things prior to paralyzing my sacral region. But I mean, chronic dry eyes, I had my tear ducts. I wasn't able to produce tears, so they cauterized, closed my tear ducts. I was becoming deaf and mute. I wear hearing aids as we speak. And I had a feeding tube for 8 years because the disease was affecting the way that I ate. And that feeding tube was just actually removed a year and a half ago.
Whoa.
So yeah, I know it hasn't really been that long that I've been quote end quote disease free, but I'm continuing this wellness journey and to be able to speak my truth so that others can learn what it's like to suffer and not have to surrender to suffering and say, this is my identity. But at the time, my identity was a patient because I was having these chronic surgeries. So the disease paralyzed my whole urinary tract system, and like any muscle and any organ, if you don't use it, you lose it. So I lost my ability to pee, and so the bladder hardened and it shrunk and it got small. And after surgeries of trying to save it, they weren't able to. So I became the first youngest patient at USC and UCLA to have what's called a radical cystectomy, which is a complete removal of my urinary bladder. Now, to this day, I haven't met anyone. Actually, I met one man, and he was in his 90s. And I was like, oh, whoa, how you doing, man? You know, like, shit. He's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it. You know, I'm like, fuck, you know, because at the time I was,
Yeah.
at the time I was 33 years old. And so I was doing a lot of research online, and there weren't studies past 5 years. And so what they did, you know, so I didn't know if I was going to live past 5 years. What they did is they took 60 inches of my small bowel intestine, they removed my bladder, and they created a pouch. They reconnected my kidney tubes to it. They removed my appendix, and they used the appendix as to make a little hole, which is close to my belly button. So I have a permanent disability using a 12-inch silicone catheter to pee every 3 hours. I have to stick it in there for the rest of my life. That's how I pee.
Wow.
And so, but I mean, that is one of the things that I had to go through. And it was a 13.5-hour surgery. It was almost a month in the hospital, 3 blood transfusions. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that went with that, a lot of repair surgeries, a lot of infections. I mean, living in hospitals constantly. But as the disease progressed, it went to my vocal cords, and it paralyzed my ability, my vocal cords. I wasn't able to talk. I didn't talk for 2.5 years, so I didn't stop there. I have this will to survive and the will to keep going, which is why I know I have a strong mission in this life. So I went to sign school for 2.5 years. I had to learn sign language. I mean, my life isn't stopping. I got to keep going.
Yeah.
And so, but in this silence, I actually became very depressed. And so I thought to myself, you know, what am I doing with my life? I'm becoming deaf and mute. I can't pee like a normal person. I have these chronic infections. I have this weird disease. I have a feeding tube. I can barely walk. What am I doing with my life? Why did I become a doctor in the first place? What's going on? And I started to have this like life path review for myself. And this is all before I was spiritual. So I started thinking, I've never even cheated on anyone I've dated, you know, like I haven't killed anyone. I haven't stolen not even a piece of gum. Like, why, what's going on? You know, like why am I going through all this stuff? And so in this agony and in this pain that I had, this silence and just constantly being in pain. I mean, and let me tell you something, having paralyzed vocal cords hurts so bad because you can't even laugh. When your vocal cords, they move even when you breathe. So friends wanted to come over, watch comedies. I can't, dude. I don't want to. It hurts to laugh. I couldn't do anything. It was like, just take slow breaths and exist at the moment. So when I was taking slow breaths and existing in that state, I had a friend randomly text me one day and said, do you want to go watch a monk speak in LA? And I said, yeah, sure. I mean, I grew up Catholic. For all I knew, I'm going to hell for all the things I've done. And I haven't even done that many things, but apparently, you know, I'm going to hell. I mean, what can Buddhism teach me? And so I said, with an open mind and an open heart, I'll go. So I saw this incredible monk. He was in these orange robes and he looked like he was levitating on stage, and he had a PowerPoint screen behind him. And the topic was suffering. And I thought, well, holy moly, I know all about this. This is perfect timing.
Yeah.
But the first line he said, which will change my life forever, he said, just because you are suffering doesn't mean you have to be in pain. And just because you are in pain doesn't mean you have to be suffering. And I thought, what in the world did I just hear right now? What does this mean? And so then I became very spiritual, a devout practicing Buddhist. I started meditating and praying every day. And there's a difference between meditating and praying. And 3 times a day, I started reading these books, and I became really highly spiritual. And the more I meditated, the more I went inside. I had no choice at the moment. I could only be inside. I couldn't speak to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or even talk to a doctor, or even talk to my brother or my mother, before nobody. So I had no choice but to listen to my inner voices. And the inner voices started to tell me that I'm well, that I'm going to help the deaf community, that I'm going to write a book about my life, that I'm going to start a podcast, I'm going to be a professor. All these things that started to tell me. I was in tears thinking, are you sure? Have faith, trust, have faith, trust. I have faith, I have trust, but I'm still in pain. Keep going, have faith, trust, love, love, love. You're love. I'm love. Holy shit. Okay, I guess I'm love. And so one of the meditations that I did that completely changed my life was realizing that I am love. And how I realized that I was love. And this is when I started to recover from this disease. The way that I started to recover from this disease is by having faith that I was love and listening to the voices, the inner voices my higher self was bringing me from prayer and meditation. And the more that I became securely close with an unwavering belief that these voices that I was hearing in my head was a higher version of myself, guiding me towards the best version of myself. And when I finally let go of that, I started meeting the right doctors. I got on the right immunosuppressant medications. My voice started to come back. I wrote my book, 379 pages within 6 weeks, got it published on Amazon. And my voice came back one vocal cord at a time. When the first vocal cord came out, I started podcasting. I'm like, I don't know what this is about, but I know I have to do this. So I kept going and I kept going. I started meeting people on this journey, even people on my podcast that have had their own healing journey. So like was attracting like. And the more they started telling their story, the more I told my story, and the more I was healing with them and healing with people all around. But I did this incredible meditation where I dropped all my identities. If I'm not, oh, and by the way, of course, I'm going to just throw this in here. I lived the first 34 years of my life as a woman. I always knew I was a man from the time that I was born. I have a male brain. Again, this is all before being spirituality. I'm going to tie it all up to how I became spiritual and where I'm at today.
Cool.
But at the time, I knew from the time I was a little kid that I think like a man, I feel like a man, but I was forced to be raised as a female. But when I started living in hospitals, I thought, you know what? F this. If I'm going to die, short life, I'm going to do what I want. And I always wanted to be a man. If Caitlyn Jenner in her 60s can transition, what in the world? So what if I'm in my 30s, right? I mean, come on. So I'm in my 30s. Go ahead, So I started my transition hormonal therapy. And so it was within this transition that I started to heal myself and also become true to myself and my authentic voice, letting go of fear. I had so much fear to be the man that I've always been, fear that I'll lose friends, fear that I'll lose my family. But guess what? I was facing the biggest fear was that I was going to lose my life. At this moment, there's nothing else to fear. So I'm just going to keep going because I'm not ready to die. If I'm not ready to die, I'm going to go as full force as I can in my authentic nature, the way that I've always wanted to be. And so when I did this meditation of losing my identities, dropping my identities, if I'm not educated, if I don't have a bachelor's, a master's, or a doctorate, if I'm not a professor, if I'm not a writer, if I'm not a poet, if I'm not 5'1", if I'm not a trans man, whatever identity, whatever box you want to put me in, if I'm none of these boxes that are checked, what am I left with? And at the very end, I felt, and I was in tears, and I said, you know what? I'm just love. I'm love. I'm love. And I was crying. I'm love. That's all I am. And when I started realizing that I was just love, I started seeing lights everywhere. Wait, if I'm loved, he's loved, she's loved, they're loved, everyone's loved. There's no judgment zone. We're all equal. And it was within this equality, this equanimity, that I really started to feel this inner peace and love that I had for life altogether. Loving rocks, loving air, loving fire, loving the bed, loving blankets, loving pins. I love it all. And in this love is where it brought me into the full gratitude of my current life being and currently here on your podcast. I love you. Thank you for listening.
Ditto. I love you too, brother. Definitely. That's an
Goodness.
awesome background on the air. I've always wanted to get one of those too. I was like, hey.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit before we go any further. How can people find you?
People can find me through my website at www.alittlessfear.com. I see the scroll down at the bottom. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Makes it easy for those who are watching, but for those who are listening,
that are not watching,
challenging.
Yeah. On my website at alittlessfear.com, you can find all of my social media links, my podcast, Instagram, TikTok is at a little less fear. But yeah, you can also send me an email if you'd like to be on the show. If you have any questions or concerns, at a little less fear at gmail.com.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Before we started recording, you mentioned your spiritual path.
Yes.
Explain a little bit about your spiritual path. You mentioned a little bit about mediumship and some of the spiritual work that you do.
Sure. Yes. Write this down. So what led me to mediumship in my current life journey, or psychic mediumship, was the fact that I used spirituality to come out my authentic self and to be free of this disease and be free of medications and to be free as much as possible from internal struggle and suffering. And so I started reading a lot of different types of books and recognizing and understanding what the chakra system is. A lot of energy. There are energy. How can I explain it for a first-time listener? There are energy centers in our body, and they actually exist all over our body, but there are major energy centers within our body, and a lot of disease gets stuck. A lot of if you're in a lot of pain and you're not speaking your truth, for example, it can get stuck in your throat chakra. I've had people on my podcast that have healed their thyroid because they realized that they weren't speaking their truths, and their thyroid became inflamed. And when they started speaking their truths and being true to themselves, the pain went away and they healed their thyroid. Like all these diseases, this man-made diseases that we get is because we're not being true to our nature. And it's not our fault. We don't know. We're just navigating this world like everybody is. We're trying to figure out what's best for ourselves. And so now I was able to see, and this is again before I became a psychic medium, before really understanding past lives or understanding current life or soul contracts. But I had realized the reason why I had my sacral area became paralyzed was because I wasn't being true to my gender, my sexuality. Well, I was going to go to hell if I became a man. You know, my parents weren't going to love me, so I'm just going to keep being this beautiful woman to make the world happy. Well, the more I try to do things to make the world happy, that part of my body became paralyzed. I wasn't speaking my truth. So as the disease progressed, it led to my vocal cords. I still wasn't speaking my truth. But when I started speaking my truth, and I'm here finally a man and feeling wonderful and feeling great in my new body, I'm healed. And because I'm aligning my chakra with what my body wants energetically. This is what my body wants. I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to be true to myself. Now, when I started to become fascinated with psychic mediumships because I interviewed a psychic on my podcast, and I just had this inherent feeling that I can also do this. I would love to do this. I can do this. It's connecting with your intuition and other types of intuitive voices that are around, other types of energy. It's all energy. Everything is energy. Whether you see it or not, it exists. And so I started practicing. I went to different psychic medium groups from all over the world, from Australia, different types of groups, and I started practicing. And then I started having free psychic readings through the practice from other incredible psychics all over the world, and then really understanding what a soul contract is. Hang on a minute. So I've had a soul contract. I knew that in this life, prior to coming to this life, that I was going to live the first 34 years of my life as a woman. And I'm going to tell you now that I'm blessed, and I'm glad that I did. And that I was going to go through this disease to be able to uplift the world and let them know that suffering out of love can come out of suffering. So I started realizing all of these things that I went through. There's always a reason for it. Everything has a reason for it. And I started to actually see that because there's a reason for it, there's also a blessing to it. The blessing that I was able to be an incredible woman prior to being Leno was that she was a badass B word. I'm going to say badass biatch. I mean, she's the one that brought me my bachelor. She's got me my master's. She got me my doctorate. And because of her, I can relate incredibly with women. You've got menstrual cramps. I know what that's like. You got men hitting on you 24/7. I know what that's like. You don't feel safe walking at night by yourself. You think you're going to get, maybe murdered or raped or something. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be able to be a woman. And because of that, I'm blessed that I'm able to connect with women on a different level. Not that many men can say that.
I'm sure some women that say that may say that, oh, I'm going through my cycle, and you go, I know what you're going through. That you get the eyes. You get the evil eye. Like, yeah, right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I get the evil eye now, of course, but I truly know what it's like. I know what it's like to have a hysterectomy. I know what it's like to have a mastectomy. I know what it's like on the most painful side of being a woman, and I know what it's like on the most joyful side of being a woman. And the most joyful side of being a woman is the type of attention that women get from the opposite gender, or even in general. I mean, men are a lot nicer to women. I'm gonna tell you that much. So, I got to experience the highs and the lows of a woman, and I'm really blessed to have had that experience. And now as a man, I'm starting to realize as a spiritual man that I am both male and female, just as you are, just as my pets are. I mean, you look at a dog or a cat, you love them regardless if they're boy or girl. I mean, you don't even know if they're a boy or girl. Is that a boy or girl? You kind of have to take a look, is that a boy or girl? Either way, it's a cute puppy, so I mean, we're loving these animals, and we are the same way. Equal judgment. We're masculine, we're feminine. They're just energies that are flowing in and out, and I love that I can embody both energies. So psychic mediumship came to me about 2.5 years ago, and I still I connect as much as I can, and I feel that psychic mediumship came to me at the right time, at a time where I really, really needed spirituality, especially recently. So recently, my brother passed away of cancer, April 9th.
Oh wow,
And
sorry to hear that,
yes,
man.
my only sibling, and so it was very rough on me. Now, had I not had my healing experience, and had I not had spiritual mediumship as a background, I'd probably be a wreck right now.
Mm.
And don't get me wrong, I've got my crying spells. I love my brother and I still feel him. And the beautiful thing about the training that I've been through, my spirit and my soul and my human self has been through, is that I am able to connect with my brother. I am able to see the synchronicities and the signs that exist. And I'm able to catch on to this because I've highlighted my transmission. My satellite is hyper alert. But that doesn't stop me from also having a human experience. And lo and behold, I still experience the human aspect of it, the grief.
Yeah.
But I mean, does that answer your question as far as psychic
Oh,
mediumship?
heck yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Man. So with your degree, how are you using your degree as far as
So I'm a professor of clinical psychology, in the applied
Mhm.
clinical psychology program at the Chicago School of Psychology, the Los Angeles campus.
Cool.
And I teach a variety of top subjects. At the current moment, the class I'm teaching is psychopathology, the pathology of mental illness, how it
Mm.
starts, how it stems, and the different ways to treat it, different types of medications, different types of therapy. And I love teaching. I did therapy at a dual diagnosis rehab over 15 years ago, and I just found that wasn't the right vibration for me. It wasn't the right alignment for me. Right meaning it wasn't energetically aligned for my life purpose.
Yeah.
And my life purpose is to be in front of a class, in front of people, in front of an audience, and to motivate and help people, bring them closer to their journey. Now, I'm not saying that I won't be doing therapy later in life. Who knows? Anything can change. But at the moment, I'm in perfect alignment where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. And helping people. I've had a few shows in the past talking about like narcissism and psychopathy and
Yes,
stuff, as far as like the trying to get away from these relationships and stuff.
sure.
Um, what what are some of the common methods that people can use in getting back into the whole vibrational love
Uh,
and vibration? What are some
okay.
methods that people can use aside from meditation? Meditation is the all of, in my opinion, the modality of everything and getting in contact. But what are some of the other modalities that people can use to help raise their frequencies?
I love this question because not two people are alike. And so and also just going back to meditation, not all meditation has to be uniform. Not all
Mhm.
meditation is sitting in silence. I mean, meditation can be even singing. Meditation can be writing
Yeah.
poetry. Meditation can be playing the guitar. Meditation has a painting, could be meditation. There's different ways to meditate. And so if you're not practicing those things and you're not meditating, find your joy, find a new hobby, or even if you can't find your joy, experiment with things. Experiment with art if you've never been good with art. Experiment with cooking if that's something that interests you or sparks your interest. Go out and connect with somebody. Go out in nature. Go for a walk.
Mhm.
Listen to a new song that you haven't heard before. A lot of people stay stuck in the same music over and over, over and over. I've been listening to oldies my whole life. Well, there's this new artist. Let me check them out. All of these stuff is keeping you at a different vibrational state, keeping you out of the mental clutter that you are constantly in a cycle of. Whatever's going to get you out of a mental clutter, go out and do it, and go out and explore. We're creative beings. Creation is creativity in motion. That's what we're meant to do. We're meant to create. And that's why kids have such a great time, because they're constantly creating. They're limitless with their creativity. Going back to that childlike mentality, being free with yourself, playing house. I mean, I used to play house as a kid, of course, as a little girl, right, with dolls and stuff. But guess
Yeah.
what? I was always the husband, and so, you know what I mean. But still, going back to those memories, it's like, hang on, it was fun to play house. Well, why can't I play house now? How would I play house now? That helps you keep your vibrational state up because you're creating and you're living in joy and you're having fun. And it's just, I mean, it's really endless. Start a journal. Start walking if you haven't walked. If you can't walk, I've met people on my podcast that are paraplegics, and they started a podcast. Start a podcast if you're paraplegic. Try talking to somebody, or meet someone new of your different ethnic background. I mean, just anything that's going to ignite your purpose in life and get you to connect with people, or even connect with your own energy a different way. That's going to get your mind out of being stuck. I mean, it's all doable, and we can all raise our vibration and our joy by just being a little curious. Be curious.
Yeah, curiosity.
Yeah.
I tell you what, curiosity, that's our spirit pushing us. It's pushing us.
Yeah.
And if we keep holding back, going, I don't want to do this. Yeah, it's
You got that right, because if spirit is going to push you, and for, just for the sake of this podcast, how do you describe what spirit is, or who spirit is?
It's aside from our higher self, because some people just say, oh, well, it's just my higher self. It's my higher.
Right.
Spirit is our muse. It's our ancestors. It's those that we have either directly have known in our life, in this lifetime, or those that we've never known in this lifetime. And could be friends as well that may have passed over, but normally family members, direct ancestors, bloodlines that kind of assist us in our direction.
Sure.
Kind of, because they're the see all. They can see all. There's no time. There's no time and space, regulations and stuff like that, where they can see everything. They can kind of go, oh crap, this is gonna happen, and they can give us that thought, that muse, whether it's a thought, a voice, an impression,
Motivation,
of some sort,
yeah,
a
inspired
motivation.
action. Yeah.
Yep. It's like being in a car, you're driving, and you want to take a left, but you hear this, you feel this, you hear everything. No, right. But you take a left anyway. Guess what happens? You get in a car accident.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And then afterwards you say, I should have listened to that voice in my head.
Right. Yes, exactly. And so spirit, just to make sure that I understand the way that you see spirit, is a collective consciousness from our ancestors and our loved ones on the other side. Do angels and spirit guides, do they fit into the spirit consciousness?
They can, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now you've traveled the world a little bit. You've been around here and there and other countries.
I haven't really been past Mexico and the United States. And so I definitely yearn. I mean, because of, over 10 years of my life was in the hospital, there's no room to travel at that time. Yeah. And a lot of the times, even traveling now, sometimes it takes a lot of planning, because I've got a permanent disability. Do I have enough catheter supplies? Will it be in a sterile environment? So there's a lot of little things that I have to, even though I know things are always working out for me and things will always work out, I just have to take a little bit more cautionary, be a little more cautious with traveling where I'm going to go. But I'm looking forward to it, and I know it's in my cards. I know that it's happening in the future, and I long to go to Europe. I can't wait to go to Europe. I might want to stay there. I'm afraid I'll go, and I want to stay there. I just love where countries are rich in history, and I mean ancient history. I mean 2,000 years ago. I want to be in that energy, and I want to feel that vibration.
Yeah, same here. Like like you said, some of these places that have a lot more history than the States do, like Istanbul. Going to Istanbul, going to Edinburgh,
incredible.
It's like you see some of these videos or some of these documentaries. It's like, oh my god,
yeah,
whoa, like really.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the spirits you can feel there? Or not just spirits, but just
the
energy that it has kind of sponged up over the years.
Oh yeah.
Like,
definitely. What about you? Have you done much traveling out of the US?
Other than I've been to a lot of states in the country, but other than the US, I lived in mainland China in Shanghai for just under a year. Massive city. Interesting. I wouldn't want to live there. It's massive. I mean, if someone told me that, what's the biggest city you lived in, and I say Shanghai, they're like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah,
it's massive.
Holy moly.
Yeah. And while I was there, I went to Cambodia, went to Angkor Wat, checked out the Buddhist temple in Angkor Wat.
Wow.
And that is amazing place. Put that on your bucket list, definitely.
Wait, what's it called? I'm writing it down.
Angkor Wat.
Oh, Anchor Walk. Oh
Yeah.
man, what was the energy like there?
Whoa, very. I had to use some well, you could feel it, but I was like, let me test my psychometry, and the walls, just the base of the buildings. I put my hands on them and just stood there for a moment, and I was just like, it was like vibrating. You could
Oh,
just
I
feel the
bet.
vibration. It's like just very high vibration. And it's still active. It's still an active Buddhist temple. You can see some of the monks that are walking around the properties and stuff like they're
Wow,
carrying pails of water up to the stupas and stuff. It's great. It's awesome. It's like, wow.
that is great. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I've yet to go elsewhere. I've been to Canada quite a few times growing up, but I want to go to Chichen Itza, Tiahuanaco, places
It's
in
pretty
Central
incredible.
America.
I've been to Chichen Itza and I've been to the Mayan Peninsula twice, and
Mhm.
both times have a very incredible, electrifying, magnetic feeling, and that I cannot explain, that I
Yeah.
haven't found anywhere else that I've traveled so far.
Wow.
Being where these pyramids are, there's just a different type of energetic force that grounds you and also keeps you silent. It's like there's no words to describe what you're feeling.
Yeah. You just want to stand there and go, just
Yeah.
let's just like the hum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And Egypt. That's on my list is
Oh
Egypt.
yeah, heck yeah, Egypt would be
Yeah.
incredible.
Oh man. Yeah, go see all the tombs and the pyramids. Jeez. I feel what's your thought in like your past lives and having you have any memory, any connection in a past life of like living in Egypt or any history of being somewhere else, other past lives of.
So I've done a lot of I love this question. I've done a lot of past life regression on myself and through a lot of different types of meditations, and I've seen maybe about 5 to 7 lives. I know that I've had countless,
Yeah.
but these are the ones that stick out to me the most. And some of them were my curiosity into how I've passed away in other lives. Some of them came out of me knowing why I have certain fears.
Mm.
And for example, I had this fear of, and I had this desire to always have a baby son in this life. I'd like to have a son. I'd like to have a son. Why a son, not a daughter? I don't know. But I'm also afraid to have a son. What if they die young? I always had these ideas. Where are they coming
Yeah.
from?
Huh.
And so I really wanted to go deep and figure this out. So I did this past life meditation, and I saw myself living in New Orleans. It looked maybe like the early 1800s, and I was an architect there, and I was helping build plantations there in New Orleans. And and so the meditation told me to, this is where you work, this is what you see. And I was able to see my body, but not my face. And I could see that I was tall and slender. I'm taller than I am now. I was about 5'7" or so, long brown hair.
Yeah.
I could see I was wearing trousers, suspenders, a tank top. I could tell it was hot and muggy. And I was like drawing stuff, writing stuff down. And I had men working for me, and they were working on the hardwood floors of these incredible mansions on
Mm.
hands and knees. And then the meditation changes. Okay, now you're going to go home to something where there's going to be some stress, something tragic happened. You're going to go home and you're going to see what happened. So I was like, I am okay.
Huh.
So I go home and I saw my wife in that past life. She was baking, and I lived in this tiny little humble, looked like it was made of like a log cabin in this like swampy area.
Yeah.
And so I walked in and I said, "Where's so and so?" Which is our son, and he was 2 years old. I remember that. And she said, "Well, he was outside playing," and I said, "He's not outside." And I could see all this happening like a movie. And so I went out looking for my son, in which I never found. And I came back home yelling at my wife. And eventually I had left her from that scene. I left her. I left the house because we never found our son. He
Huh.
was either murdered or he was killed by, I don't know, crocodiles in the swamp. I don't know what happened. But
Yeah.
in that life, my son was lost. And I woke up in tears because I felt the loss. And I was able to even see him in my past life. I was holding him. I saw what he looked like. I was hugging him, I was loving him. And for him to have been gone, I then realized when I woke up from that meditation, that is why I want a son so bad. And that's why I have fears of losing a son if I have one. I understand it. So it's very healing to go into past life regression and really realize where some of our fears come from. And that's why I love past life regression.
Wow. Yeah, I've yet to do a past life regression with I know a couple NLPs, neuro linguistic programmers, that'll take you into a state of altered states of
Yeah.
consciousness and then go back. I'm like, ah, man, do I want to? Do I really want to? I don't know. But I have experienced some past lives in meditations, as well as 3 years ago when I had my ayahuasca ceremony. A lot of Middle Eastern stuff. Because I remember waking up speaking in tongues. I was like, actually, I wasn't quite awake, sort of awake, but I got up and I'm speaking in this like Aramaic language, and I'm like wearing a robe. In my mind, I'm seeing myself wearing a robe back in like the ancient times. But then when I get back into body, I'm actually kneeling on the floor, facing east, interestingly enough, facing
Wow.
east, and I have the towel or the blanket over my head, imitating the robe that I was wearing in a past
Yeah.
life. It's like, whoa. It's like,
Wow, that's
yeah,
amazing.
it's like crazy. Um, but yeah, and I've had a couple experiences too of death. I've experienced the ways that I've died. I don't even, that's so many, I don't even know how to write them down, but it's probably all of them. I was shot, I was stabbed, I died of old age, fell off a cliff. you know, it's like, and actually been through the death period. Actually
Wow.
felt the knife going through me, bleeding out, experiencing it, and slowly transitioning over. Actually going through those moments and
That's
feeling it.
incredible. Wait, how
Yeah.
did you have this experience? Was that through also?
Altered states of consciousness, going into deep states of meditation and just concentrating on it, and just the meditation
But did you
itself.
set an
And feeling
intention,
it.
and did you have a question prior to going into that meditation, like how did I die, or how have I died in other lives, or did you just?
How I died, or where is this particular fear coming from? Like we were
Yeah,
talking
right,
about earlier, where is this
right.
particular fear coming from? And it was based off of that way that I had passed away.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's like, what? Yeah,
That's wild.
isn't it? It's like, man. But yeah, it's dude, man, we definitely got to do another show.
Oh, I'd love to. I
We
love
definitely
I
got to
love your
do
energy.
another
I love
show.
our energy here collectively. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. And maybe do an in studio. We were talking about this before we were recording and stuff, but yeah, doing. I want to do more in studio stuff, and kind of, you know, um,
Yeah, next
yeah.
time I go to Florida, I'm gonna hit you up for sure.
And next time I go to California, likewise. I haven't
Yeah,
been
let
in
me
a
know.
long time,
Let
but
me know when you're in
I
LA.
I've already had like five people on the show thus far. Before or after the show, it's like, yeah, next time you're in California. I'm like, I don't have any plans, but okay, I've got
Yeah.
5 hits thus far, so I'll take a tour of the entire state.
Right.
Oh man! So before we wrap up the show, again, where can people find you?
They can find me on my website at www.alittlelessfear.com. You can also send me an email at alittlelessfear@gmail.com. On Instagram, my handle is at a little less fear podcast.
Cool, cool. What would you like to offer as a takeaway for our audience today?
I love this question. I don't think I've ever been asked this question as far as a takeaway goes. A takeaway that I'd like to offer people is to make sure that you make some room for fun, and also make sure that you rest. There's a lot of people that are on a go 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 go, and I can also speak for myself. I'm the same way. Allow your body the opportunity to rest, because a lot of times if you don't rest, you don't recharge, and then you won't be able to have fun. And also, having fun is a form of resting. So make sure that you have time for yourself, self-care, whatever that is for you. You want to go bike riding, go for a walk, do things for yourself, because when you fill up your own cup, you're able to fill up other cups. And do it because you want to, because you love to. And even if you don't feel the love at the moment, and it hurts to even pretend to love yourself, if you keep hurting to pretend to love yourself, eventually you're going to attract love one way or another. Whether a little child will smile at you on the street, whether a dog will come up to you for you to pet it, you'll start to feel the magnetism of love and realize this was only possible because of love. It must be because I am also radiating that love. Be open to love, open up your heart, and you'll see that things will really fall into line synchronistically.
Heck yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful,
Thank you.
brother. Heck yeah.
Thank you.
And when you mentioned rest, just to give people an idea of rest, make it a routine. Make
resting a routine.
Yeah. And for instance, myself, I've been doing this for years. That I do not. When I was in college, yes, I would stay awake for days doing projects and this and that and that and this. I don't care what day of the week it is, even if it's on my weekend. Sometimes I'll stay up late, but I make sure that I get no less than 7 hours of sleep. 8 at most, but no less than 7 hours of sleep. It is written in stone.
Yeah.
And that's it. Do not cheat sleep.
Don't cheat sleep. You heal in your sleep.
Yep.
Your cells need it. They yearn for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it will help raise your vibration.
Yeah, it sure will. Let's keep raising that vibration.
Heck yeah. Namaste, my friend. Blessings.
Namaste,
Thank
right
you
back
very
at
much,
you.
my
Thank
friend.
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for chiming in with us today. And until next time, we'll see you then.